please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the CPS website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Policy. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of this meeting has notified the superintendent's office of the desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of the meeting will also be read and made part of the record of the meeting during the second public comment session. So welcome to this meeting of the Chelmsford School Committee. First order of business is to approve our minutes from July 9th.
Okay.
I will make a motion
Okay.
that we approve the minutes from the prior meeting. Do I have to say the date?
Yep. July
From
9th.
the July 9th
Yep.
meeting.
Take a second.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, we have a motion second. Any corrections? Okay, all in favor of approval? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. Okay, any good news?
Good news, the summer's been going great. A lot of projects going on. Enjoy the extra time to get things done, but looks like we're in good shape to open up in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Wow, who's counting though?
We are.
All right, any other good news anybody would like to share? Great. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any public input.
We
So
don't.
we'll move on to new business.
Sure, we have a couple of reports for you tonight. The first, we're going to welcome Christine Clancy, who is our DPW director. We work very closely, just as a little bit of background, the school department and DPW work very closely on the day-to-day maintenance of the buildings. Our custodians in the schools and our contracted companies do the cleaning of the buildings. And DPW's workforce is the one that really gets into the HVAC and electrical and the bigger repair type stuff within the buildings. And then we partner with DPW on capital projects, both town-funded as well as they'll be working closely with us on the MSBA project. And one of the things that was under our strategic plan last year, the Facilities and Operations Initiative, was looking to better track the different work that takes place in the schools with regard to work orders that the schools put in, how long it takes to get them filled, what's the fill rate, things along those lines. So Christine is here tonight to provide kind of the annual review of what we were able to accomplish last year and talk a little bit about how we might move forward. So I very much appreciate Christine's partnership, but coming tonight to just review some of the detail that she has.
Thank you for having me tonight. And so, I do want to provide an update of the FY24 work order summary. So this is an effort to try to show what we've done in the past year from facilities in the schools. I will get into it to talk about, I think there are some limitations with the existing system that we have. We use School Dude. It's from the 1990s, and I will get into some improvements that we're proposing in the next year. But we have been able to put together this report. So we do use School Dude as a work order system to manage our work orders. This is outside of our capital requests, so larger projects are completed separately. We use this, I think this originally started for the management of school work orders, the 9 school locations. We have expanded that in recent years to expand to other town facilities, and even sometimes, town, we have, an item in our system for town common. So we do use this at our DPW. But like I said, capital, larger projects, those are really outside of this tracking system that we have. Just to give also a brief overview of the DPW facilities. We have a staff of 15. Of that staff, we also have various trades in-house. So we have 2 electricians, 1 plumber, 1 HVAC tech, 1 carpenter, 1 playground inspector, and then 6 other field maintenance, general maintenance. These are the people that really respond to the work orders that come in. Aside from that, we also have other vendors that we work with, whether it be fire alarm. We have a large contract with MBE Kenny to assist with the HVAC work orders and maintenance needed in the systems in the schools particularly. So what we did, this is, I guess, our first take at trying to quantify what we've done in the past year. So this report summarizes, so in the past year in FY24, 1,425 work orders were created in the schools, of which 1,182 were completed. So that's about 83% completion. And that means that 243 work orders remain to be completed. Further on in the report, it does show a breakdown by location. So on the next page, figures 2 and 3, it shows a breakdown of the work order summaries by location. Total work orders for the biome, the center, the community ed, the school admin, the high school, Harrington, McCarthy, Parker, and South Row. It shows how many remain to be opened and percent complete. And for the most part, we're targeting about, the average is 83%, but some schools are doing better than others, and it's various reasons is why work orders are maybe not complete, and I can get into that in a little bit. And then it just graphically shows what is shown in the table. So obviously, high school is our largest schools that generates the most work orders created. For the most part, I would say the other schools relatively the same amount. I mean, I would say so the school admin buildings is the smallest space we have, so less work orders are created. The next page, figures 4 and 5, breaks it down by trade. So we do track various trades in our work order management system: general maintenance, delivery, landscaping, site or playground, roof, plumbing, carpentry, HVAC, electrical, parking, painting, and snow and ice. And by trade here, broken down what remains to be opened. And percent complete here varies. Obviously, snow and ice, hopefully we don't have any ongoing snow and ice issues right now in the summer. And typically, too, we do sometimes use some other databases that in town, snow and ice, if there's a snow call, we're responding emergency. Work order system is not, I guess, set up maybe for the snow events because we're responding within 24 hours. But just to kind of get into, so we have for the trades, and this is various percentages complete. So this is our first take on it. We are looking, this is in terms of our next steps. And so we have 243 work orders that remain to be completed in the various trades. I spent some time this week in reviewing with our facilities director to go over really what are those 243 work orders that remain to be opened. A lot of them were created at the end of the last school year. Some might be a little bit, within this school year. And so I think the software, like I said, was developed in the 1990s. It is a bit of a manual entry. To go over the process, the entries are generally generated from the school side. Those are put in. We see those requests. Those requests are assigned to the tradesperson, the person that would respond to them. They're given a printout. They go out in the field. They inspect it. They fill out a form, and they bring it back to the office for it to be closed out. So it's a bit of a process to get it to be closed out manually. There's opportunities for improvement in that, and so we have School Dude is the vendor, but now they're Brightly Solutions, and we had a presentation, and really their software now is much more enhanced, much smarter. Metrics can be tracked, and we were just given a proposal that we're moving forward with. And so we'll probably spend the next 6 months or so building out the program, primarily for the school side, but also for the entire town. So it can better tie to asset, it has a lot more asset management opportunities. So you can tie boilers, and then you can set preventative maintenance work orders. Right now, that all has to be manually entered. Another example right now is if we have a hole in the wall, that hole in the wall has to be patched. That's one work order. But then someone has to go in and manually create the next work order for someone to paint the wall. The new system allows you to set up some type of work plan within the work order system. So you can say, okay, the first person has to patch the wall, and then someone has to paint the wall, or it could even be more multi-step than that. And there's a lot more things down the line we can look into, but our next step is to look into that reporting or onboarding onto that new system, training. It also has large mobile opportunities or tablet opportunities. Like I said, right now it's through a computer program where printouts are filled out, handed back in for closure. We close them in our office. Now we're able to use it with a tablet. So the person that is reviewing it, it's assigned to them. They can bring it up on their tablet in the school building, see the issue, write comments, add photos, and then close it out right then and there. So there's great opportunities with the new software. I think with that new software too is the reporting. There's huge, so in this reporting, it just took a little bit of time. I know Dr. Lang asked me for reporting, and there wasn't something I can just click a button and have that reporting be generated. I had to do an export into Excel and then do some manipulation of the data to get this reporting. And even the reporting, I think, has some limitations right now. So there's opportunities with this reporting. We could set up different dashboards where if I want to see if a principal wants to see one school, they go in and they just see that one school, or if they want to see just the high priority work orders, there's different metrics to set. And preventative maintenance. So I think there's great opportunities. So the plan would be to, immediately, we're planning for the new school year, which, yes, is only 3 weeks away. So really looking at those 243 work orders and looking at them, I'm not overly concerned. I think some of them, there's closure that just needs to administratively be handled. Some of them, in looking at them today, some were duplicate entries. Some things that were addressed but maybe not closed out, and there aren't wholesale, issues in the schools. If you walk through the schools, they are in great shape. So a plan is to come back quarterly, I believe, and if we come back quarterly, we can provide an update. And so 83% is a good number, but I like it to be closer to the 90s, and I think with some of this administrative closing out of the work orders, we'll be there in the next quarter update. And then with the new software, there'll be more fancy diagrams or more metrics to maybe show you, and we'll build that out over the next year. I don't know if there's any questions.
Anybody have questions?
Can I just add one quick thing? Just to Christine a little bit, the timing of the work order entry, also like when you do the reporting, is significant to keep in mind because
Yes.
this is reporting through June 30th, which is the end of the last fiscal year. But we kind of preload tickets for work that we would like to get done over the summertime because we know the schools are closed. So we're entering tickets in June that we know aren't going to get done by June 30th, but we just expect them to get done over the course of the summer
Right.
before the kids come back in September. So that open ticket is also because of us entering stuff that we would like done in advance of the summer being done. So when we actually take a look at the first quarter report at the end of September, which we'll look at sometime in October, you'll see a lot of that summer work reflected. So a lot of this is going to be timing also of just when you actually are reporting and then when work is getting completed. So that is another reason for the, I guess, the number of tickets that are still open, because it was work that was requested in anticipation of the summer coming.
Correct. Yeah, we did see a lot come in at the end of the year, knowing that would be a summer list to work through, which we're working through.
No, I just wanted to mention that for the timing.
Right, so any questions?
I have two kind of related questions. They're both just sort of for my edification because my first time really looking closely at this. The roof stands out as something that has a much lower rate of completion than other things, with the exception of one that only had a few orders. And I'm curious what the situation was and why so many of those, at least as of when this snapshot was, were still open. And then the other one was another sort of disproportional thing. I'm curious why so many more orders come from the high school than the other sites. Is it just the age of the building, the size of the building, or something else?
Sure. So for the roof, so going back now 2 years ago, I know when we were looking at potentially reporting, we had some administrative closure of work orders needed. So we actually closed out 14,000 work orders. So when we did 1,400 this year, 14,000. And just because of, like I said, the manual entries, there were things that were in progress but were really complete, or just there's also a designation between complete and closed. So we went through and we made sure we closed 14,000 work orders that were complete or not, no longer needed. So then moving forward in FY24, we knew that we could have this reporting. So in doing that, we've now at the 1,425. And then looking at some of the trades, I think there are still some administrative closures. So in looking, a lot of the work orders, there were some duplications. And particularly for the roof was at the high school. There was some leaking, as we said, over the pack, over the stairwells, and it also was during rain events. And I think also then when we go out and inspect some of these, we're not finding the leaks I did actually talk today to our shop to see if we had any known issues. That's the thing, we currently don't have any significant issues at the high school, but the reporting is telling me otherwise. So I think there's some cleaning up to do, particularly in the roof trades. That was an example of some duplication. And that's the thing, is sometimes there would be a work order. It says it's raining today, there's a leak, and then the next day it's still raining, there's a leak. So it's almost disproportionate. But it was more so the high school related. Also, we are coming upon a lot of roof work, so that also could be indicative that, more work orders generating more need for longer term capital projects. I thought that was the case, but when I dug into this specific incident, just looking at the 50% completion, it's really, I think it's more administrative in going through some of the work orders. And then as far as the high school, I think it is just the volume of space. It's such a large space. It is older too. I mean, all of our schools, our newest school is 50 years old, so I think it's all of them. I can't really speak to the age, but I just think there's such a large space so that's what I would say.
Just the square footage alone of the high school.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's well in excess of, 4 times the elementary schools.
Right.
So when you put those together, and even when you look at the middle schools, it's well over 2 times both middle schools together. And there's a lot of specialty spaces at the high school. You've got the locker rooms, say, that you don't have in the other schools. You do have the PAC. You have 2 cafeterias. There's just much more volume. So that's kind of the rationale for that one being so large.
Any other questions? Thank you. And just, first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
Report. So it definitely sounds like an upgrade in software is well needed. I guess my question is this a shared cost with the town, or is it just something the town pays for, just from a budgetary standpoint?
Sure. So historically, it's been paid by the school department, and there is a little bit more of a cost increase with this upgrade. And I think there is a benefit to using it both for town and for school. We've mostly used it for school. We've started to add in some asset points, not really that there is more just so we could log points at town common. The town has Civic Plus, so we use other sources for some tracking, like potholes. We don't use School Dude yet or Brightly Solutions. So the goal is for work orders generated from buildings to use both town and school and share that cost.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be pretty net neutral in the end to us. We currently have an annual fee of around $7,500 for the program, and even when we go to the upgrade and the town buildings come on, our annual cost is going to be about the same. But there are some pretty good enhancements, even like from our angle, like our custodians, I was mentioning, Christine, our custodians are responsible for changing out the filters in each of the, say, classrooms. But we'll be able to program in, again, from a preventative standpoint, like every 3 months, going to do the filter changes. Instead of someone having to manually go in and create a ticket every 3 months, we can just set up a schedule where every 3 months the ticket pops. And it actually can also help us with inventory management of, say, the filters and things like that if we want to get to that level, so that they're actually ordered and arriving on site for the replacement. But it's going to be relatively net neutral to us cost-wise, so I think it'll be good in the long run.
Okay, great. All right, any other questions? Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Always
thanks,
a
Christine.
pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Second item up on the agenda this evening is our final year-to-date budget report, our financial report for fiscal '24. So I will turn that over to Joanna.
Thank you. At the June 9th meeting, I had presented our preliminary figures, and because there was just a few final journal entries to be made before the fiscal year, and you have a couple weeks to close things out. And so these are the final numbers, and they're not significantly different from what we presented July 9th. So our fiscal year 2024 local budget was $70,700,000. We've spent $69,966,296.46. We have open encumbrances, so those are open POs or supplies, mostly that we will get in over the summer of work to finish up, of $733,703.54. And so our available budget is zero. So and that's our goal every year, is to spend out the allocation to, for the schools. Any questions on our final figures?
Questions?
Well, it all seems so neat at the end, doesn't it?
It does.
It's miraculous. It all ends at zero, all this work this year, it just ends at zero. I love it. It's great work. Thank you.
It's amazing.
The grant and revolving fund summary, there were a couple changes to that report. Some revenue did come in at the end of June, and then was posted to the ledger, after, the reports for the July 9th meeting. So that's I think there were about 4 or 5 grant or revolving funds where a little extra revenue came in and is reported on here. But otherwise, nothing significant changed on the grant and revolving funds.
Any questions on grants?
And then the last report, there were no changes at all. These were the student activity accounts for the high schools and both middle schools. And this report did not change at all.
Can I ask a question, Joe? In terms of grants, how do we usually find out that there's a grant out there? And is it by department? How does it happen?
So on the DESE website, there's the entitlement grants. So those are, really easy to see. And then there's also a section on competitive grants. And, our leaders and our primarily our department leaders have access to all that. And then we see if this is something we want to consider. Is it in alignment with our strategic plan? When they read over the criteria, is that something we fit, based on, our needs, our student population, and then we make the decision.
Okay. And just on a regular basis, everybody looks at those and
Yeah, and they release
decides
an
whether or
email
not
to
to move
us as well.
forward.
We receive emails letting us know about the upcoming competitive
From DESE.
grants. Right, so anybody that is part of the distribution list on those emails will start to get them. So they'll pop up that way as well. So you don't always have to go comb the website. You'll receive something.
There's a Commissioner's Weekly email that often highlights them as well, the opportunities.
We're pretty in tune to like the State Department of Ed grants, obviously the U.S. Department of Ed grants when they come out. And then even the state for like non-school grants, they have been, like Bill has applied for some technology-related grants. We may be open for some school safety security grants we've applied for. There's a different office you apply there. But that's something that we regularly monitor.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the budget report?
Great work.
Yeah, as always. Yes, I'll take a motion just to accept it as a report of progress.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept the report from the Director of Business and Finance as presented.
Second.
Okay, if there are no further questions, all in favor? Aye. Okay, 5-0. Great, thank you, Joanne.
Thanks, Joanna.
Okay, all right, so next up, we have the superintendent's performance evaluation. So first of all, thank you to everybody for getting me in your individual evaluations in a timely manner. Everybody in front of them has the final evaluation. So just the first page is the ratings for the superintendent in the different areas, so 4 different areas that he's rated in. So in the area of instructional leadership, his overall rating was proficient. In the area of management operations, it was an overall rating of exemplary. In the area of family and community engagement, an overall rating of exemplary. And professional culture, overall rating of proficient with an overall rating for the year of exemplary. Below are some comments. I'll just kind of try to summarize them and not read the whole thing because you all have it in front of you, but just for the people at home. So just to highlight, in the area of operation management, superintendent was praised for the job he does in developing and monitoring the budget for the district. A particular note is the fact that the Chelmsford Public Schools find themselves in a strong financial position as compared to a lot of other districts because of the way the superintendent and his staff allocated financial resources during and after the COVID pandemic. Another area of commendation found in most of the comments was in the area of communications. Superintendent was praised for the way he keeps the committee and the community at large informed about how things are going in the district through his weekly newsletters, community coffees, presentations at public events, and his willingness to sit down and discuss issues one-on-one. Many committee members also mentioned some of the long-term initiatives that started to really lead to notable improvements this year, including the strategic plan, special education, and safety reviews, and most notably, the acceptance of Chelmsford into the MSBA new building program. A few of the recommendations found in the comments included continue to provide committee information about areas that the district still needs to work on, continue to monitor the new ELA program, and being open to making additions or changes, allowing teachers the freedom to personalize instruction within the parameters of the different curriculum programs, providing updates on professional development programs and new teacher training programs, and continuing to strengthen relationships with and among staff members throughout the district. So if anybody wants to add anything else to that,
I'm just gonna make a comment. Great, it was a great year. So thank you for the work. Thank you for all your staff's work, everybody, and the teachers, and just, it's been I don't know, it's been a good year this year. It's been nothing but upside for a few years. Actually, I don't wanna jinx it. I'm gonna stop talking now.
you
know what?
He didn't say that, no. Anybody else, anything you want to add?
Well, first, I said this privately to you, Dennis, but I'm going to say it. I think you did a really great job of summarizing everything. And I know that my comments that I had made are incorporated here, and I really appreciate it. I would like to say that it's always a pleasure to work with Dr. Lang. It really is. You do listen, which I truly, truly appreciate. Your door is open whenever we need to communicate, and that's a big, big plus. And I also know that if we made some comments, that you will take it to heart and you will read it. And I've always heard from you that that's something you actually appreciate. So I think overall, it's just really good. And I look forward to continuing to work together. It's great.
Anybody else?
I think that the summary of the report really jived with a lot of what I had sent in to Dennis and to you, and there are areas where you're absolutely exemplary that we're in great shape before it. And any of the comments I had about improvement were things I've already talked to you about personally, so I hope nothing came as a surprise, or things that you've been open about, and I think we've been open about too. So hopefully it can only lead to better and more progress.
And I will say, this was actually very easy, right? Because everybody seems to be sort of on the same page, which I think is great. So personally, and hopefully on behalf of the school committee, thank you for another great year, and hopefully we continue to do well in the upcoming years as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. I do know that you take a lot of time in putting comments together and the ratings and whatnot. I do think we had a successful year overall, and I've said this in the past. I know you're rating my work as a superintendent, but it's really the team that we have in place in the district that does the day-to-day work to keep us going. I think having the strategic plan work that we did a few years ago really kind of sets the direction for everyone to be on the same page and has been helpful. I'm really looking forward to getting into year 3. We're already kind of deep at work of figuring out the different initiatives and goals and the way we're going to measure our work, so that'll be on upcoming agendas. But I really do, I feel the district is in a very good place. Obviously, everyone has room to grow and improve. And I think as a group, we haven't, been kind of just satisfied with where we're at. We're always trying to improve and get better, and that's something we'll certainly do. But I think it's been a good, working relationship. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the support. I do think it's nice when we're all working in the same direction, and so that's been great. I did appreciate the again the feedback. I do take it to heart, and again, I think we have a very good team in place to keep us moving forward. So I'm looking forward to continuing working with you.
Now, at some point, will this be posted somewhere on the website, or?
Yeah, so once you technically accept it,
Okay.
we have a whole section on the website under the superintendent that this will get uploaded to within a day or so.
Okay.
And it's up there for the public.
Great.
It's not in the packet tonight just because you haven't accepted it yet, but once you accept it, it'll get updated. The packet will get updated in the section of the website.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a motion.
Okay, I move that we accept the summative evaluation report of the superintendent's performance for school year 2023 to 24 as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any further comments? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you very much. Next this evening, we have a fourth item is just the personnel report. And again, this is just a list I give to you of all of the new hires and transfers we've had within the district, some resignations from people that are either retiring or moving on. And it's a good way for you to just track the comings and goings of staff that you'll see in September in the schools. Just as an aside, we provided a little bit of an update in July for you on kind of where we're at with hiring. We're still advancing and making very good progress to be hopefully fully staffed by the time we come back in just 3 weeks' time. We still have a couple of key positions we're looking to fill. We've done a good job of filling the long-term sub positions. We had a number of, say, maternity leaves and other leaves at the beginning of the year. We're in very good shape on that front. We've kind of shifted into, over the last, 2 or 3 weeks, right up through the start of the school year, a focus on all of our support staff, because oftentimes we have support staff that may be licensed, that are looking for jobs in other districts. So it's sometimes hard to get them to lock in if they are interviewing in other districts for teaching jobs if we just don't have one available for their skill set. But we've really put an emphasis on trying to make sure that we have those jobs filled. Diane and our HR office are going to be hosting next week a job fair right in Chelmsford at the high school. So we're going to really, I know she's working with the Greater Lowell Workforce Investment Board to try to help fill some of those paraprofessional positions that we have still that may be open, our food service, lunch and recess aides, things along those lines, some of the unlicensed or unlicensed required positions in the district. So we're really hoping that that goes well. This is our first time doing that. We're going to have our admin at the event as well to kind of talk about the Chelmsford schools, talk about some of the employment opportunities, and hopefully able to start the hiring process right on site so that we're really kind of locked in and ready to go on the first day. When we meet in 2 weeks, I'll give you an update of generally where we're at overall with the hiring, but I'm very happy with where we're at this point. I'm not seeing any significant issues for being staffed for the fall. And again, a lot of time and effort has gone into to this. We were one of the first districts to actually start advertising back in March for positions. And again, I think that was because our budget was relatively set. There were a lot of districts that were kind of scrambling and figuring out if they were going to be able to maintain their staff or not. And we were able to kind of swoop in early and get our postings up and really attract some great people to the district. So also was fortunate that we have a very stable workforce. We didn't have a lot of resignations or retirements. The few people that actually have left even since the end of the school year has been more geographical. We had a few staff members like physically relocate to other parts of the country. And obviously working here wasn't going to be viable anymore, but we've been able to actively try to quickly recruit good quality candidates for those positions. Some of the work that we've done really outreaching to the and specifically on the teacher and the professional staff level, some of the different colleges in our area that are graduating students with licenses in areas that we need have been valuable. So I'm really looking forward to meeting the whole new group that are coming on board when we do teacher orientation and our whole induction program in a couple of weeks. So I'll have an update for you at the next meeting in 2 weeks. That's actually going to be a big meeting. So we're going to have a lot of topics to just kind of wrap up what's happened in the summer, how we're kind of forecasting the start of the school year is going to go. So we'll have a couple of different items on that I know you've been asking for.
Any questions on personnel?
In terms of teachers and programs, teaching programs, I know that we have the fellowships and so on, and from the University of Lowell, I think, and also Merrimack.
Yep.
How about the student, when they teach, like in their junior year? and so on,
practicum?
The practicum. Are we listed in these different schools for that?
We are. We
We're
actually.
approved for them?
Yeah, we take a lot of students for that. So typically, when you're in a teacher education program, now, well, we've actually encouraged this, but the programs are starting to get students out into the field, even just for like observance type hours. It's not
Yes.
physical practicum work, but as early as their freshman year. Sometimes in the spring of their freshman year, they're just going out for, say, 10 hours as part of a class to actually absorb instruction. But we have students that come to our district primarily from the local colleges because a lot of it's geographically based, but, UMass Lowell, Merrimack's, things along those lines. Then when you get to sophomore year and junior year, you have to do more hours in the different programs. And we find sometimes the teachers are having the students specialize, so maybe they want to do a little bit of time observing special education instruction in a mainstream classroom or in a sub-separate classroom, some general ed instruction, and we assist and we find locations in the schools at the elementary, middle, and high school where they can do that. and then that sets them up for their full practicum. So usually there's a whole semester that they're actually doing like their student teaching, we used to call it. And we'll have teachers that will agree to take on a student who's requiring a practicum, and they'll come and they'll obviously be there like every day over the course of a semester. They'll observe the students, they'll actually get to the point where they do some co-teaching and even lead some teaching lessons on their own. The university partners will come in and observe them as part of the program in doing that. So we have been a site for that. There's actually been a little bit of talk between UMass Lowell and Merrimack, even in the way that they're doing their, they call it field work, and we're going to try it this year at a couple of our elementary schools. They'd actually like to have a class of their students go to a particular school and observe kind of at the same time, or at least the same cohort of students and even teachers, so that they can kind of compare and contrast what they're seeing. It used to be that if there were 10 kids, I call them kids, but if there were 10 students in a class, they might go to 10 different schools to do something. They're actually seeing if we could actually host, say, all 10 at South Row Elementary School, let's say, and they would come in and they would observe a certain grade level if they wanted to try to see something, or a certain, cohort, like we have a Strive program at South Row, so maybe they like to observe Strive in a general ed setting. So we're going to actually explore that a little bit. The teacher or the instructor from the university would actually come with the students so that they could actually do a little bit of debriefing and things afterward. But no, we're very in tune to that, and we try to be open to taking students in when we can. And that's a great pool for us
it
to be able
is.
to recruit from.
It is, because they get exposure to our schools, and if the experience is good for them, they return.
Right.
But one of the reasons I'm saying this is now I've had a couple, and it's not just where my daughter goes. I've also heard from UMass that students, that for them internally, the coordination isn't always great. So that it's difficult for them. So if the school is approved already, and they know exactly who to call and so on, it just makes it much easier. If not, then the student may not make the effort of doing it, and will just accept whatever school's already approved. So I just wanted to make sure that we truly know we're approved on those lists, so that students will choose us.
Yeah, well, as a district, like I said, our district accepts those students in. There's minimal kind of paperwork that they need to go through, like we do require them to be quarried. You have to kind of do your paperwork before they come on board. We need to make sure that when they come on board, that they're going to be sensitive to like student confidentiality and things along those lines. So there are prescribed things that they have to do, but that's kind of in our relationship with the university. But we do, if Merrimack or like UMass, those are our two big ones. If those were a concern, I can tell you that we're approved with them, because we do take students every semester.
That's great.
Yeah, and I can say I wound up teaching in the district that I student taught in, and it was definitely helpful to have had that prior experience back in the day.
Other questions on personnel, Susan?
Yeah, I have one. I had seen the listings for the hiring fair that's coming up. And I saw there was a couple of teacher positions that are called interim. Is that different or the same as long-term sub? What does that mean, the interim
A
position?
little different. So a long-term sub would be, if we have an individual, who say is on like a medical leave or a maternity leave from the first day of school until October 20th, we would hire a long-term sub for that particular period of time. There's a per diem rate that individual would make, more than a day-to-day sub rate, but it's a per diem rate. But they know at the end of that term on, say, October 20th, when the teacher comes back, they're no longer guaranteed a position. So that obviously attracts a certain candidate who is okay taking maybe a 6 or 8 week leave, and they might then hope that maybe there'll be another leave that they could fill somewhere else, but there's no guarantee. If we know a teacher is going to be out for the entire school year, so we've had a couple of in the different schools where they've had, say, like a child rearing leave after having a baby, say in the springtime, and the teacher asks for a whole year-long leave, then what we allow the school to do is hire an interim teacher. So they're actually able to hire a teacher on step and lane, so like right according to the contract, but the person is only guaranteed the job for the year.
Gotcha.
So when they get accepted and they actually take the job, they know it's a year commitment. We're committing to them for the year, they're on step and lane, but there's no guarantee at all of a job the following year. that spring, they have to look on the compendium and kind of figure out if there's a position that they might want. But at least they know they're locked in for the year for that job. So that's a little bit of the
So
difference.
they're hired as the teacher on record for that job for that school year, and that's all they know that they're, okay.
Right, yeah, so but they're guaranteed a whole year.
Right,
So that
right.
oftentimes attracts a different caliber of candidate as well, because someone might say, you know what, all right, I want to get my feet wet, I really kind of like this particular grade of school, I at least know I have a job for a year, and maybe something could come of it, you know, you never know. Someone does take a leave for a year, and life situations change, and it ends up being they decide to take some time off, and we end up hiring the person. They still have to go through the process, but they kind of have a foot in the door, but they're guaranteed employment for the year. And because we allow the school to hire on step and lane, again, if someone's coming in with 3 or 4 years of experience, they're going to get credit for that. We're in a long-term sub situation. They're just getting a flat rate per day. So that's kind of the difference. So if you ever see interim on a posting, it means there's a particular like grade level of school where someone has told us and they've been approved for leave for the whole year. So.
Okay.
Other questions? I guess my question is just, and then probably go to Linda, you know, in terms of all these new staff, because this came up on the evaluation, what do we do for them in terms of orientation and mentoring? I mean, if that's something,
No, sure, so we do have 2 teacher orientation days that will happen the week before school starts, before all staff and students are back. We also assign mentors to all the teachers that require a mentor, someone who is either new to the position or new to a position that they've never done before if there's a significant change. So if you were a kindergarten teacher and suddenly you're a chemistry teacher at the high school, we would get you a mentor for that. And then those mentors work together. They're trained mentors in the district. They've gone through the mentor course through the district with our mentor coordinator. And then they meet regularly throughout the school year with that mentor coordinator and them together. And the mentor coordinator is a teacher, so it's not like evaluative, it's not like administrators are in there. It's a place where they can have conversations, talk to each other, what's working, what isn't working, and the mentor can support that teacher if they need additional, professional development, even co-teaching. We've released people to be like, can you go and help and maybe model a lesson? The mentees have gone, they go every year to watch their mentor teach a class as well. So there's a lot of different supports in there. And then, of course, you have administrative support through the department coordinator or the building administration.
is a mentor program for just the year, or is it 2 years?
So a teacher, in order to move to the next licensure, has to have 50 hours for 2 consecutive years. So it's pretty intense the first year, and then the second year is a little bit it's less formal, where they meet not as often, but then that teacher, the mentee, ends up getting their hours in. So when they go to change their license from, say, initial to professional, they have the hours, we sign off on that, we hold all of the information together, and every year we run a mentor class for new teachers that would like to become a mentor in the district to take the course. And especially if we have like a low incident group, like nurses, special ed, OT, somebody that, you need somebody specialized to do that. We've also did like co-mentoring. So let's say you had someone that, had the content knowledge, but then you needed somebody in the building that had different knowledge, we would have them co-mentor.
Can I ask a question related to that? In terms of mentor coordinator, is that one person for the entire district? How does that
Well,
work?
it's a combination, so between HR, myself, and then the mentor coordinator is one position, it's a stipend position, that's a teacher that teaches in the district. It's Mary Beth McAllister, so she's been in the district for quite some time, so she's the one that will teach the course for anybody that would like to become a mentor. She runs the mentor-mentee meetings throughout the school year.
Okay, but
then
it's for
she
the
works-
entire district?
For the entire district, because we have usually about, what would you say, like 20 new mentees a year? Approximately 20 people require a mentor each year.
Okay.
And then she works with both Diane, Carrie, and myself, like if there's something we have to work out, if there's a situation, if the match isn't good, or even during the school year, let's say somebody has experience and they, by all rights, should be doing fine, but maybe they're not. We'd hear from the principal, department coordinator, we might have to assign a mentor mid-year.
Great, thank you. All right, anything else on personnel? Okay, all right, going to assume no liaison reports at this point?
I actually have a liaison.
Oh, you do? All right. My assumption is wrong.
Because I'm the liaison to the town's
Oh, yeah. That's-
steering committee on the strategic plan, which is really now coming to the community visioning phase. So I don't know if you've gotten emails from Paula Cohen yet, kind of introducing the whole process. If you're a town meeting rep, you definitely would have received something. Well, if you didn't, it's coming really soon.
Yeah.
But there's a webpage up now with a survey and a place for residents to add comments, all to develop a strategic plan for the town. Similar to what the school department went through, of course. School issues will be on the town's plan, even though the town doesn't really tell the school how to operate. The funding does come from the town, so there's definitely some tie-ins, and if the town's gonna prioritize certain types of work, we wanna make sure that people have been able to make it clear how they feel about the schools too. So there's a big push through the schools to get word out to parents about this. Dr. Lang and I met last week, and he's actually had some great ideas to help us get students, because they're looking for kids as young as 14 to complete these surveys, or maybe different clubs to do something called meeting in a box, where there'd be a facilitator meeting with that club, and they'd kind of have a discussion about what they see for the town vision and things they'd like to see for the town in the future. So we have some good ideas that I'll be reporting to that committee next week on the way the schools can help the town get the information to create the strategic plan. So I think we're in good shape for doing that. So going to be a nice coordination.
Okay. Anybody else liaison reports?
So the only other thing is that Sue probably has one coming up too. We have the strategic plan going, setting the goals for coming year. I know my subcommittee has a meeting coming up tomorrow. So I think different subcommittees are meeting in order to set the goals and the priorities for that.
Great. Okay, any new items people would like on upcoming agendas?
So one of the things would be if we could get an update on what's happening with numbers, and I'm sure for enrollment,
Sure.
I'm sure that that's coming.
Yeah, the only, I certainly can do this for the next meeting for you. The only thing that on top of mind that's kind of changed since the last time we talked, the kindergarten enrollment at Center Elementary School had creeped up to the high 90s. So I did tell them to go ahead and add a fifth section of kindergarten. I'll figure out the budgeting for it, but I don't want them to start the year off high, because I am concerned just also geographically where Center is getting a lot of new families. I want to make sure that the K numbers are really attractive. So that's the only change, that I can include that in the August report for you, that we've made since we last talked. Byam was always going to have 5 sections of K, just because their numbers have been high. And the other 3, we had always, when we do the budget, we start with 4. South Row and Harrington are fine. They're in the high 70s or 80s, so their numbers are fine. But Center, I was a little surprised, but it started creeping up to the high 90s. And again, I don't want to start kindergartens with 25s and 26s. So I authorized them to go ahead and add a fifth section.
Do we know if it's a particular development or anything that's going on?
There's nothing that like jumps to me from like the, just the addresses of the students. That's the only thing I can go on. I mean, Center in the past has had certain grade levels where we've had to add 5, particularly when different like hotels were being used for sites and things like
Yes.
that. Obviously, Center was a little impacted, but I can't say it's like that development on Turnpike or anything like that. It's just the Center numbers for K just were creeping up. And like I said, I just don't want them to start the year with high numbers.
In
So-
relation to the numbers, I think it would be important for us to know what's going on with that Princeton project, because it really is moving along pretty quickly. So we may find ourselves in the middle of this year. And I think we had some funds allocated to us by the developer.
The developer supposedly earmarked some funds for us.
Right.
We don't have them yet. I don't think we're going to access them until the school was coming on board, but there was a discussion about that.
Yeah, just to see where we're at with that.
But if they start moving in during the middle of the school year, I mean, that happens to be Harrington District, that's going to have an impact suddenly right in the middle of the school year, so.
It's going to be,
And how were the schools where you had to add the fifth doing in terms of space? for those?
Spatially, they've had 5 previously,
there's-
so they're making some maneuvering within the building.
Yeah.
But like Center has had 5Ks in the past.
It's not putting them over a limit that they haven't experienced already.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And again, we've always tried to really maintain those K and 1 numbers around like 20-ish if we can. Obviously, they creep up, and our policy will have them go as high as like 24, 25 when they get to grades 2, 3, 4. But just incoming K, I want to have some flexibility. So that was the one thing I didn't tell you that just came up over the last couple of weeks, that I did let them go ahead and add a 5th section, so.
Okay.
Any other new items?
I would love in an upcoming meeting, just an overview of what is happening in terms of long-term thinking about early literacy, given that there's some new stuff that's been passed statewide with the governor's new budget, and given, I think we're approaching probably the midpoint with our existing curriculum. And I know there's been conversation from a lot of stakeholders about what's happening in early literacy across statewide, let alone just in Chelmsford. So I'd love to hear sort of what the long-term thinking is, and if there's any current opportunities through DESE that the district is considering pursuing.
Great.
Anything else? And a couple, just, and Maria touched upon it earlier, just the process, in a couple meetings, talk about the process for us setting goals.
Yes.
If we're going to get involved, the DM group involved with that, or we're going to do individually, how we're going to do that. If we could get an update on the capital projects that are going on. I know there's a lot of things going on
Yeah,
in
I'll
the
definitely
district.
have an update
Yeah.
for you at the next meeting on that.
You know, I'm sure our facilities director has been very, very busy over the last couple of
It's
weeks.
been a busy summer.
Yeah, and then, kind of related, you know, if there's, I know the budget was passed, if there's any sort of impact on us in terms of, you know, aid or in terms of school lunches, if you just kind of highlight anything that came out of that.
Yeah, no significant changes to our bottom line budget that was approved by the town, so that's the budget we're proceeding forward with. Do you want to just touch base quickly on the food piece?
Right, so in the governor's, what she signed was 170 million, I believe, to fund school lunch, breakfast and lunch at no cost to families. So that was, they're not sure if that's gonna, make it through the entire year. It's hard to know, but what they are asking districts to do, and this doesn't affect our district, but it will help the state, is you can qualify for community eligibility provision. It's called CEP. And what that does is it shifts the funding source to the federal government. So CEP through the years, when it first started, I don't know, Jay, 10 years ago or so, the threshold was 60% of certain poverty levels and that. Well, through the years, the number is 25%. And then it's also changed. You can do it, it doesn't have to be your whole district, it could be a school. So DESE is helping districts apply for CEP and encouraging them to do so. Actually, there was this big pushback in June. And then if that happens, and if more cities and towns in the Commonwealth meet that 25%, then the federal government will fund more, and then that'll take away from the burden of the Commonwealth to fund the difference between, for the, at no cost to families. Again, Chelmsford's not impacted in CEP, but the other 350 cities and towns might, so that might help the Commonwealth with their budget, and hence why 170 million was funded rather than 270 million or something like that. Does that answer your question?
Yep, so bottom line, when we start the school year, it's still free lunch and breakfast.
We start the school year. So I'm not going to speak for the governor, but if this 170 million runs out, then everybody's going to have to take a different path.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's on that particular item, that's the only update we have at this point, so that's how we're going to start the year.
Okay.
And obviously kind of monitor it and see how it goes.
Any other things?
What?
I don't think we have any second public comments, so if not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
And make a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under
See,
an
let's
hour.
see.
This was a